Political Connections continues now with Political Times. Bay News 9 and our partners in from the Tampa Bay Times political unit talk in depth with newsmakers from around the nation, the state, and the Bay Area.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Al Rochelle, as always, joined at this part of our program by Adam Smith, who is the political editor for the Tampa Bay Times, who will introduce our guest. Adam, good to see you.
You too. We have MARIELENA STUART, who shocked a lot of people in this state when you won the Republican Party straw poll here in Pinellas County. You're running for U.S. Senate. Not many people know about you. What makes you think you can pull us off against big names like Connie Mack, George Lemieux?
Well, you know, what I was able to do last week at the Pinellas GOP really sent shockwaves through the Republican Party. And I was able to show them what a true Republican conservative grassroots campaign can do. I have incredible support from the conservative movement inside the Republican Party. In that landslide victory last week of 54%, where I left George Lemieux behind with 34%, and Connie Mack, who only got 12 votes, really showed the GOP what a conservative Republican can do in the tradition of Ronald Reagan as a citizen candidate. I have worked very, very hard for the last 9 months, and my results last week at the Pinellas GOP really showed the fruits of my labor.
So why do you think we haven't heard about you until recently? Because you say you've been running since August the 12th officially, but then September 11th is the date you like to choose. So what's going on?
Well, I did not come up the ranks of the GOP. I did this the hard way, working very hard through private donations and private support of tough conservative Republicans and constitutionalists who stand behind me. So this is how I've gotten the message out. But I'm here to tell you that my campaign is strong, I'm moving forward, and I plan to win. What happened last week truly is a reflection of what a grassroots conservative in the Ronald Reagan tradition can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, give us your basic platform. I know you want to overturn Roe versus Wade. You've suggested America's turning into danger of going socialist. What's your basic message?
My message is that America has become a socialist nation. The size of our federal government has defined it as a socialist nation. And we have something which people are not really understanding as to how we can define socialism. And socialism in America is called sustainability, sustainable development. This is an initiative that was projected through the United Nations, and we are right now within a few hours of a major summit in Rio de Janeiro that proposes to advance even further sustainability clauses in sustainable development, not just in America, but across the world.
Is Medicare socialism? Is Social Security socialism?
Well, these are programs that were meant to do the right thing for our society, but they have now turned into massive programs that we cannot manage anymore, and we can't manage these programs because we have a huge debt.
What would you do about them then?
We need to, first of all, get rid of the entitlement programs. Once we get rid of the entitlement programs and we're able to bring down our debt, we now then know.
So you would get rid of Medicare and Social Security?
No, I'm not saying I would get rid of Medicare. We need to manage them. We need to manage them in a way that they can work. Right now, they're not working.
Now, Governor Jeb Bush has endorsed Connie Mack, and one of the things that he has also said recently was that he is dismayed and disheartened by the way the Republican Party now seems to be the party that doesn't want to make any compromise, and that in order to get something done in Washington, you have to compromise. Even Ronald Reagan had to compromise.
Well, you know, compromise is what got us Barack Hussein Obama in the White House. I really believe that a conservative Republican path is what will help save this nation.
What about the independents? Because most people say that the Republicans can't win on their own. You have to have independents.
Well, independents have a voice, and there are certainly great ideas coming out of independents. But independents have to understand that in order for us to effect change in 2012, we need to be able to really define a position. My position is as a conservative Republican. Mm-hmm. And as a conservative Republican that understands very well that if we continue down the path of compromise, we will simply repeat the mistakes we've made before.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Connie Mack? Like Al said, he's got Jeb Bush's endorsement. Mitt Romney's endorsement. He's basically declared the primary over. What do you say?
I think that is very arrogant. I think that to declare that the primary is over is an insult, not just to Republicans, but to Floridians in general. The process, the tradition in our country is that as a candidate, you step forward the way that I have done, traveling thousands of miles through the state of Florida with my husband and my young children, meeting people, facing them, winning hearts and minds one by one. To declare that he's a winner from the comfort of his chair is an insult to Floridians and to America. And this is something that has to change inside the Republican Party.
This is not New Hampshire or Rhode Island where you can win a statewide election meeting people. You know, this is a state where, unfortunately, TV matters in these elections. There are probably going to be 2 million people voting in the primary. Are you going to be able to raise more than $1 million to compete?
Well, I am working very hard to raise money. And I was able to put out a very strong message a week ago at the Pinellas GOP, and I think that now Republicans are seriously looking at my campaign, and they understand that I am the only authentic conservative candidate in this race with a background to prove it, a background of actions, fighting against sustainable development, fighting in defense of the unborn. I am a homeschooling mother. I am a conservative columnist. I cover issues ranging from military affairs in China to the Middle East and Israel. So my background is solid. I'm also a linguist. I am able to march into Washington and communicate in foreign languages. This gives me a tremendous advantage. So when there is a trade agreement or a treaty, and there is a representative from a foreign nation, and they do not understand what America wants and what America needs from them, I'm able to tell them in their language.
What makes you say Connie Mack, George Lemieux, Mike McAllister, Dave Weldon are not true conservatives?
Well, I have yet to see these gentlemen that you have mentioned really show a consistent background as conservatives. Some of them have never lifted a finger against socialism or sustainable development, which is embedded in our treaties and our trade agreements. Others have voted in a very inconsistent manner. I come into this table as a candidate, having not held office before, but with an integrity in a very consistent background in putting out ideas and looking into issues and offering solutions that are consistently
And when you
conservative.
talk about sustainable development, that's part of the UN Agenda 21. So is that your top concern, that the UN is in danger of turning America into a socialist nation?
My top concern is America and how America is right now reacting to entities such as the United Nations, whom I believe should be expelled from the United States. We should not be in a reactionary position. We should be getting front and center as a leader. We should not have an immigration policy that is determined by migratory movements. For example, immigration is tied in to our foreign policy. We cannot have migratory movements that define our foreign policy. So I believe that America needs to get front and center to lead economically, morally, number one, economically and militarily. And to do that, you cannot be reacting.
What do you think?
You have to lead.
What do you think of Marco Rubio?
I think he's a fine young man, and I think that he has good ideas. I would love to be able to sit down with him and share more of my experience in fighting socialism. You have to understand, I lived and survived communism. I am the daughter of a former political prisoner. And one of my uncles at one point was one of the longest held political prisoners in the Western Hemisphere. I survived communism. America saved my life. And I think that until you live under communism, you do not fully comprehend the extent of how damaging it can be to a society, both economically and morally. So I would like to be able to sit down with Marco Rubio, our senator, and really share with him how sustainable development works, how we cannot be reacting in terms of our immigration policies. We do differ in terms of immigration policies. I do not believe that migratory movements should be determining how we propose our immigration solutions.
In 2 seconds, you'd like to expel anybody who's illegal here now or
I would
undocumented
like
now.
our immigration laws to be upheld.
All right. All right.
I believe in that. And I believe that if you're going to talk about unification of the family and keeping the family together, you cannot choose to keep the child and then let the parents go back. You have to be consistent as a conservative.
MARIELENA Stewart, thank you so much for stopping by, and glad we got to get to know you a little bit better, and our audience gets to know you better too. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.